I've mentioned in passing a few times how much I utterly despise kink shaming isn't my fetish, but I've never explained why it's so bad. So today that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to explain to you all why kink shaming isn't my fetish is the worst thing Doodletones has ever done. Now yes, I know this video is almost a year old. Yes, I know I'm taking a huge risk going after the goddess of commentaries. And yes, I know some people are going to accuse me of being a hit leech because Doodletones is far more popular than me. But the reason I'm making this video is not to leech off of her popularity. Who am I kidding? Yeah, it is. But in all seriousness, the reason I'm making this video is not just because I like Mr. Medicare, and it's also not just because I also like Doodletones and know she's capable of so much better than this. It's because this video fundamentally fails on every single level. I'm warning you right now, this video is pure shit. It's not funny, it's not entertaining, it's not insightful, it's not anything. So let's dive right in. Oh, before we start, I just want to mention this. There are two flavors of ice cream that you get with this video. You get the safe for work version and the not safe for work version. It really doesn't matter which one you choose, you're getting a terrible video either way, but I just wanted to point that out. So without further ado, let's jump right into it, shall we?
Mr. Medicare, some of you may know him as the pioneer of commentaries, some of you know him as Jim81 Jim or the Internet Aristocrat, someone who helped popularize Gamergate, and likes to just be an overall shitposter. Here's the thing though, there's only so much you can do with wanting to roast someone before it begins to feel dirty.
Now, what Doodle here is saying is actually correct. Mr. Medicare, aka Jim, was one of the people that helped popularize the commentary genre on YouTube and made it into the semi-phenomenon that it is today, made it into the popular format that it is today. So, she is right when she says that. However, another point she makes is the fact that she knows, keep this in mind, she knows that Jim is a shitposter. She knows his shtick, she knows what he does and his character and all that. Keep that in mind, because that's going to be very important later on.
And this is where the following video comes in, as Mr. Medicare started a new series called Deviant Is, or Deviants, where he looks at fetishes posted on DeviantArt and roasts the shit out of them in a Let's Riff style video. But he still brings up points against these fetishes, so I feel this can still be covered in a video, as I feel the way he went about this video left a rather sour taste in my mouth.
Welcome one and all to the 8th episode of Tumblr. Wait a minute, this isn't Tumblrisms, this is Deviants. The first episode to be exact. This is Pump Me Up. And that's not a euphemism. That is not a euphemism for being excited. You may be asking yourself, as you slowly unzip your pants because you know what's coming, Jim, why would we be looking at DeviantArt? And what could Pump Me Up possibly refer to? Well, it refers to inflation. And I'm not talking about the monetary kind. I'm talking about a very special kind of inflation that's only found in the minds of degenerate motherfuckers.
Degenerate. Having lost the physical, mental, or moral qualities considered normal and desirable, showing evidence of decline. You know what this implies, Jim? You're implying these people have a declining sense of morality. You're implying these people are near immoral, which is a wonderful thing to imply when you're referring to people who express a fetish in a safe way, minus one example that you do bring up later in the video. But still, that's one example, yet you're sitting here generalizing a whole group of people who are into this by calling them immoral. Already, you're showing me how much you are ready to mock people just because they love the idea of being inflated like a balloon.
Oh boy, I was not kidding when I said this video was going to be pure shit. And that statement right there was just an indication of how bad this video is and how quickly it goes downhill. One of the most fundamental flaws is the fact that Doodle took this whole thing way too seriously. This is all over something that's completely minor and insignificant. Inflation art. And, well, she's not a fan per se, she was personally advocating for it. And in the description she says that she doesn't mind people criticizing inflation art. She understands that not everybody is going to like it, and she understands why some people would be turned off by it. She says this at the beginning of the video. But yet, here she was, getting mad at somebody who was doing just that. And well, she's saying, oh, he's shaming them, he's mocking them. Even though anyone with the brain can clearly see that this is just criticism. Anyone that watches that video can clearly see that Jim is criticizing inflation art as a whole. Sure, he's being a snarky, sarcastic asshole about it, but that's his entire shtick. That's what he's known to do. So that's not a surprise, and Doodle herself knew this. So I really don't understand the outrage behind it. Then again, I guess criticism these days is code for shaming someone or mocking somebody. If you can believe it, the video goes completely downhill and it never recovers. Oh, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, joy.
Now, if you were to go on to DeviantArt and just do a search, you would get 139,008 results for inflation, along with the knowledge that God is dead.
Actually, with the save filter on, you just get under 100,000 results. But let's increase the numbers a bit and make it seem like it's a huge, horrifying thing. Also, Jim, you're asking your viewers to go out of their way to do this. You're asking them to go and search for this stuff. A normal browser of DeviantArt will more than likely see this kind of stuff on their newest page, not inflation. This isn't some sort of epidemic, you know.
The amount of inflation art results on DeviantArt are so large that it wouldn't really make sense for Jim to try and purposely inflate the numbers to make it seem worse than it already is. I mean, you presented it yourself. Even if you have the safe filter on, you're going to get close to 100,000 results, and with the mature filter, it's around 140,000 results. That's still pretty freaking large, so your point about Jim trying to purposely inflate the numbers to make inflation art seem like this horrible, awful thing really doesn't even make any sense, because it's already freaking large already with the search results. Why purposely inflate it? That doesn't make any sense. And furthermore, you say that he's actively encouraging his fans to go after people that drew inflation art when he did not do such a thing. I mean, come on. That's a pretty far reach to try and discredit somebody, and it's just kind of sad and desperate, to be quite honest. Look, if this had come from some troll, I would have laughed my ass off and we would have had a grand old time. I would have completely dismissed it. But the fact that this came from somebody who's usually good at constructing rational arguments and making good points, this is practically inexcusable. And I don't mean to use your phrase here, Susie, but please, try again.
For an added bonus, make sure to click on that box that says, make mature content visible, because you want it to be as awkward as fucking possible when your parents walk into the room as you're looking at this.
Again, you're telling them to go out of their way to find this. This already makes your whole thing about inflation art flimsy at best. Because DeviantArt tends to filter that stuff to its own corner of the website, so those who do enjoy it and want to see it can find it and enjoy it. I mean, it's their kink after all, not yours. And you going out of your way to find this, to hassle them for this stuff, is almost borderline harassment, Jim.
There are so many things wrong with that statement, let me count the ways. Okay, first of all, like I've said many times throughout this video, what Jim is doing is merely criticizing inflation art as a subculture. That's what he's doing. And the fact that you legitimately said that he was going out of his way to mock and shame these people is utterly ridiculous, considering he's called out weird internet subcultures in the past through his Tumblrism series, and you didn't have a problem with it then. But the minute he criticizes inflation art, then all of a sudden it becomes a problem. I don't know, to me that comes off as really hypocritical in my book. Second of all, inflation art is an incredibly weird and bizarre subculture. It's a fetish. And not everybody's going to be into it. Some people are going to think it's weird. Some people are going to be disgusted. And that's fine. That's okay. Like, somebody saying, oh, I don't like inflation art. I think it's weird. I think it's gross. I think it's disgusting. I don't like it. There's really nothing wrong with that. I don't get that, personally. There's nothing wrong with that. And finally, third of all, trying to equate criticism to harassment is just stupid. It's beyond stupid. I mean, because when you do that, you're essentially reducing the word harassment to a joke. You're reducing it to a punchline. You're cheapening it. And I guess we need to change the definition of harassment, because these days, harassment is when somebody says something you don't agree with. So remember, kiddies, if someone says something you don't agree with, just label it harassment. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna make this abundantly clear. Just because you criticize something does not make it harassment, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Doodle became an internet lolcow because of this video. She earned the embarrassing nickname Doodle Diapers because of this video, and after watching it for the 3rd time, I understand now. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with it because I absolutely don't, but I'm just saying I understand it.
It's not unusual to be loved by anyone.
I can't move to reach the air tank. Well, great. Just my luck. The expanding feeling is just too great. I don't really think I want to stop. However, I'm starting to feel pretty full, and now I think I'm going to pop. Well, how about a round of applause for our poet laureate, Master Mindtaker? I can imagine the comments they got on this wonderful piece of art, this expressive piece of literature. They must have been just inundated with people throwing roses at their feet. Like Forest Girl 123 from February 25th, 2013. Haha, this is the funny side I've heard of it. Good one.
Or this comment, clearly praising this, and I quote, creepy fetish girl after saying she died afterwards. And that's before this video where people came to her conveniently through your video to basically prod at the flames a little bit more. Yeah, there's people praising the poem, but that's mainly because those people are into that kink and went out of their way to find people who share that kink. Simply put, they went to find like-minded people that share an interest with them. I mean, would it be wrong for a bunch of sports fans to congregate together and talk about sports? Would it be wrong for 2 people who think blondes are hot to get together and talk about blonde chicks? Well, I mean, I guess so, because that's normal, huh, Jim?
That explains nothing. You explain nothing. That doesn't even make any sense. People getting together to talk about sports? That's a relatively normal thing. People who think blonde chicks are hot and want to talk about how hot blonde chicks are? Yeah, that's also a relatively normal thing. Guess what? Inflation art is not a relatively normal thing. It isn't in the slightest. It's just a weird and bizarre subculture that exists on the internet, and it's nothing more than that. You seriously cannot say that you understand that not everybody's going to be into inflation art and then get mad when someone doesn't think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And seriously, trying to compare the 3 doesn't even work. It doesn't even make any sense because they're so intrinsically different, and since inflation art is not something that most people would talk about. It's not a normal thing. It's a fetish that certain people have, and they want to check out more of it because they're fascinated by it. You said it yourself, so they're not even remotely relatable. Look guys, I am trying so hard to convince myself that this video is not that bad, that this is not Doodletones, and that this is some kind of troll masquerading as Doodletones. I want to believe that this is a nightmare planted inside my head, but this is real. This is a real thing that somebody made at one point in time. Let that sink in for a moment.
Do you think that Yoshi gets embarrassed when he poos out eggs in front of Mario? Sorry if that offends anyone, but I thought it was a funny thing. Haha.
Why would someone asking about Yoshi laying eggs offend anyone, first of all? Second, this is a fictional story that's meant to be a little silly. It's obviously meant for the sake of humor. If it wasn't, they'd actually go out of their way to talk about popping. Gee, for a video that wants to focus on riffing, you are sure taking this whole fetish seriously. Try again.
This is one of the many problems the video has. What Doodle did in this video, and she does it on more than one occasion, is that she took things that are obvious jokes and blew it way out of proportion and used incredibly far reaches to try and paint Jim to be this evil, horrible person, and it just doesn't work at all. And I find it incredibly funny how you were trying to get on Jim's case for taking the riffing a little bit too seriously, when this entire video consists of you getting mad at the fact that Jim merely criticized inflation art. Hypocrisy much? Look, I know how incredibly smart you are, but even you have to realize how utterly hypocritical this makes you look, right?
I mean, just look at this beautiful picture, entitled Moonbeam, a character I created named Moonbeam. The reason behind her giant tummy that makes her look pregnant? Well, you see, she's a young witch that lives inside of a gingerbread mansion. Not a house, a mansion. She lures foolish and usually bratty, never innocent or good travelers, into her home to fatten them up, and then turns them into food to eat. Of course, as you can see, that's sort of taken a toll on her figure. Her belly's grown so big for so long now, she's actually beginning to even feel pregnant too. I also wanted to take a shot at drawing a character on the side. Does it look good? Now, I'm not an art critic, but maybe some of my viewers are. If you would be so inclined to visit Master Mindtaker's page and take a look at Moonbeam here, maybe you could leave a comment telling them how good it looks. I'm sure they would enjoy the positive feedback from you.
Fuck you. You are actively telling your viewers, hey, go harass this kid who basically draws inflation because I don't like it. This isn't a term I throw around lightly, but you are starting a lynch mob, Jim. Singling a person out and telling people to target this person's page, and from what I can tell, it hasn't quite gotten out of hand yet, but the fact that you are even suggesting such a thing is legit the scummiest thing that I've heard in a while. If you wanted to riff on the art, that's one thing, but I cannot sit here and enjoy someone who is advocating for cyber harassment. And that's all the rest of this video is, just going page to poke at people and tell his viewers to check these people out in a very snarky, sarcastic manner that really tells me he just wants to start some flames on DeviantArt. I don't wish to know what the future holds for these people, just staying to themselves and not hurting a fly, only to get people coming to their page to get kicked in the balls because some guy with 83,000 plus subscribers didn't like the subject matter of their art. It's like if they were legit doing some awful things on DeviantArt, sure, call them out. There are people who legit need calling out. But if all they're doing is going to the one place that'll allow them to actually express themselves to do just that, then at that point you're just another blatant cyberbully.
In short, this video suffers from horribly flawed arguments, taking jokes far too seriously and blowing them out of proportion, points that don't make any logical sense whatsoever, but what really kills this video, in my humble opinion, is the pointlessness of it all. The only reason this video was made to begin with is because Doodle got triggered at the fact that Jim criticized inflation art. That's it. That is the only reason why this video exists at all. This video should not have been made at all, in my opinion, because I fail to see how it would have made a good video. It is not bottom of the barrel, it is not below bottom of the barrel, it's not even above bottom of the barrel. It is eternity's below bottom of the barrel. It is so awful that Awful changed its name to Eric's Fudge Cakes, to Brandon's Food Porn, to Evan's Waifu, to Star Princess's Dunkaroo Frosting. Seriously, did anyone look at this script and legitimately think this video was gonna be good? Apparently not, like, because she wrote it, recorded it, edited it, and then at the end of it all, she said, yeah, that's a good enough video, that's good enough for me to put on YouTube for thousands of people to see. Did no one look at this and say, oh my god, this is awful, do not put this out, what the hell are you doing? Look, maybe the concept sounded good on paper, and it translated well on paper, and the execution of the video was flawed, but I just don't see it. This video is just so bad. It's just, I can't even comprehend it. Not only is this the worst thing Doodletones has done, but this is one of the worst commentaries I have ever seen. It is like on Kablam or Clay kind of levels of bad. And yes, I just went there. And by the way, when I said this video was Sonic 06 levels of bad in my top 10 dumbest controversies video, I truly meant that. That was not a joke. It is really that bad. But look, despite everything I've said in this video, I like Doodletones. She usually produces fantastic content. So don't take it as me bashing Doodletones or me saying that she's a horrible content creator, because I obviously don't think that. If I did, I wouldn't hesitate telling you guys so, but I don't. And I also like Mr. Menaker. I like both of these channels equally. They both produce fantastic content, and they're both great content creators. So I don't have a bias towards any one, or either one, sorry. I just like good content. So for the fan bases of both, don't flame each other in the comments. Don't come and attack me. Please, I'm very fragile. I have low self-esteem. It's just my opinion. Keep that in mind. Alright. You know, people can like Menaker and Doodletones, that can coexist, okay? Anyways, that's all I gotta say. This is ThatKidDouglas, aka the Unhero, signing out. Deuces, stay frosty and keep it weird. Cue an outro sequence now. I'm sorry, my face is tired because of, well, you know, everything. As always, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel because I have many more awesome videos just like this one. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified every time I post a new video. So with all that being said, have a wonderful day, my fellow Space Rangers, and remember to keep on doodling.